And now we're going to proceed to the keynote address. Okay. And Keith Martin is to Lamb arguably what this place and the Chef's Garden is to vegetables. Okay. Elysian Fields, the name itself conjures up an amazing sense of perfection. Okay. And some of the very best restaurants in the country, including the French Laundry, per se, and many others, use Elysian Fields lamb. And those are restaurants that tend to buy the best and use the best and appreciate quality. Keith Martin is the proprietor of Elysian Fields, located in Pennsylvania, not too far from Pittsburgh. And I'm not going to say too much more about it. I'll let him speak. And now Keith Martin from Elysian Fields.
Good afternoon, everyone. Lee and Jody were kind enough to ask me to help moderate this section. And, you know, when we, I guess, 4 years ago, began to think about roots and what roots would be, the real intention in roots was to find people that were innovators, not imitators. And, you know, I can't think of a better person to do the keynote address than Keith Martin. He really is, you know, truly a great guy, a passionate guy, but a true innovator in our industry. And it's a great pleasure to introduce you, Keith.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. I really want to thank Chef's Garden, Lee and Mary, your immediate family, your extended farm family, all of those really involved with your operation, and you. Thank you for having the least bit of interest what this farmer could have to say to you. It humbles me tremendously to think that there would be anything that I could share with you today that would be of interest to you. So I really appreciate your confidence in me, Lee, your confidence in having me up here, John, equally as so. So thank you very much. You're a tough crowd. It's been great to listen to all the presenters. What a tough act to follow, huh? It was a tremendous day, a lot of information. You know, so it challenges me a little bit, I think, to kind of follow that up. How do I address you in such a way that we can kind of make things connect? The tough crowd statement is what? You're so diverse. We have farmers here, me and Lee. We have chefs and industry leaders from restaurateurs from all over the country. We have consumers, very interested foodies, I think is what it was called before, okay? Such a challenge. So I'm going to challenge you a little bit, I think. I want you to think a little differently. I'm going to speak to you, I think, a little bit on a little different, from a different perspective. Very philosophically. I want to speak to you about holism and a holistic perspective. Something that we've incorporated and something that began and continues on. For me, 27 years ago, as we developed an interest and an exposure to this animal. And I will speak initially to you from that perspective, from an animal's perspective. And I would like to then incorporate, under this, what we can certainly call an umbrella philosophy. The animal, and then of course its steward, farmer, and then professionals such as yourselves, and then ultimately the consumer. I think we are all under that umbrella. And I think we're challenged to identify ourselves within certain parameters of that time element under that umbrella of holism. And I guess I am challenging you to think holistically. we bring this focus to this animal is no longer for us, really has much to do with product perspectives at all. We're shifting the focus from product to the animal. Let me ask you a question. Why do we only care about the 7 weeks that this lamb is in its product form and not the 7 months that it's with us live? Just because it's dead doesn't make it different. It could clearly be said and easily understood that every breath this animal takes is eventually represented in its product form. This animal is the focus. I tell people this all the time. If you like the lamb, thank the lamb, okay? You're not eating me, okay? It's all about this animal and its contribution. So what does that mean? What is that? Well, if it's standing hock deep, if I'm its steward and I'm forcing it to stand hock deep in its own manure and pumping it up with antibiotics and taking it really out of its natural order, okay, and placing it into what I call a humanistic impression, okay, of what I think it should be, well then at the end of that, when, again, just because it's dead doesn't make it different, what kind of product version you think you're going to get from that? That animal is in control of this the whole way, not you, not me. The best thing that we can do, and I learned this, again, 27 years, I learned this pretty quick, is get out of the way. They know a lot more about being a lamb than I know about being a lamb. Believe me. I thought I had to have my hand up every ewe and pull every lamb, and I was there 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was so involved. And I really discovered quickly that I was really screwing things up. You have a little pest here. I was truly in the way. So I took a different perspective, stepped back and said, you know, I'm going to take my production protocols, not from an impressed humanistic standard, something that I think, you know, came up with. We want it all to fit in a box. We want it all to look the same. Not that, but I'm going to take my cues from this animal. So I'm going to watch and I'm going to observe and I'm going to identify what its needs are. And believe me, these animals can communicate. I think all of you understand that. You all have pets, and we've all been exposed to this. They will allow you to know. They will teach you what their needs are if we're only patient and observant. And it's so important to understand that perspective and to approach this from the animal's perspective, not a product perspective. We all think from a product first perspective, and we really need, and hence the challenge. I guess I'm kind of challenging you to change that thought process a little bit. Look on your bodies. You got leather on? You have leather shoes, leather belts, and that's fine. Absolutely. They are definitely here, and this is something that you have to come to grips with, because not to be curt, but speaking earlier, I think Michelle was making a comment about harvest. I kill them. Okay? I do. I harvest them. And you have to understand that they are here for our responsible and reverent use, but it absolutely, positively must be that. We cannot look at them as though they're just a widget or whatever, a manufactured item. They give everything they have to give. There is no gluing them back together, okay? This is not something that you can retrieve. It's not something that again, like I said, that you can put back together and get a do-over. No mulligans here. So their giving, I'm sorry, their giving is absolute and definite. So what does that responsibility come upon us? It's huge. And I don't think we recognize that enough. I think we're too product focused. And I think it's incumbent as I'm getting back to the comment, that you're all culpable. We're all equally as culpable because we do consume. And again, that's okay. I take, in an absolute sense, everything they have to give. But I think it's very, very important that we understand that it must be responsible. It must be respectful. It must be reverent. I must do everything I can do. And that's why I'm here today. I'm not here today for any other reason than to bring this lamb and the voice of the lamb to you. I am not the principal. It's all about the animal. I'm simply the agent. I'm here carrying a message of the voice of the lamb that I truly feel is not just relevant, but it's authentic. Running a grandma, wow. What the heck have we come to, right? So, pardon me, get back on track here. It's very, very important that we understand the proper focus. Now, my grandmother used to tell me, she used to say, Keith, the road to hell is paved with good intent. It's not enough just to talk about it. It's not enough for me just to come up here and speak to you about this. Not for me. I have to be demonstrative. I have to take action. It's incumbent upon me more so than really anyone. It is you as well, because we're all consumers of this gift. But it's highly critical for me to make sure that I am demonstrative. My form of taking action is something that we call a safe alternative. It's a different type of production model. It's, again, patterned after the cues and the production protocols have been taken from this animal. We do things very differently than a lot of other producers do. But again, it may seem foreign to me when I first recognize it, but I appreciate it for what it is because I truly believe it's a message from the source. So, you know, I always tell my wife, I get this little bird lands on my shoulder, kind of whispers in my ear, you know, and says, pay attention here, okay? They will let you know when they need salt. They will let you know when they need what their particular sustenance may be. So our taking action, our walking the walk, our demonstration, my satisfaction to my grandmother, okay, is that we do have a process. We do walk that walk, and it's called a safe alternative. What is that? Well, it's kind of it's a quantifiable process where, again, just because it's dead doesn't make it different. That animal in its product form is exactly the same animal. There's no difference in a rack of lamb that I may send out to a restaurant and that same rack of lamb going baa in my barn. And you have to understand that every breath that animal takes is eventually represented. It is that dynamic of a process. It is eventually represented in that product. You know, so we have to have a way to be able to convey that to the ultimate consumer. So we're talking about animal, and I'd like to talk a little bit more about the professionals, the producer, the professionals, and eventually the consumer. So I don't want to jump too far ahead here, but eventually somebody's going to eat it. And that's when the circle closes. And it's so important for that person who yet does not know, but yet has a tremendous and deep yearning desire to be connected. They want to know. They just simply don't know what questions to ask. They have been disconnected for too long. It has been, a barrier has been created between consumption and production. And you know this to be a fact because people are flocking to farmers markets and they're burgeoning in interest because people want to get connected. They want to get dirty. They want to know where it came from. They want to know what it ate and what it drank. And that's the safe alternative. As we quantify this product, knowing there's no difference at all, just because it's dead doesn't make it different. And it goes out to a consumer, and let's use in this case a restaurant group. Then it becomes incumbent, you got leather on, incumbent upon you to educate that consumer, your patron that's at that table. Because they do want to be connected. Again, they simply just don't know how. So the mechanism has to be created. The model has to be created, and that's what safe alternative is. When the product comes out, it will have a code on it. It's an alphanumerical code. I don't want to get too far into the detail of this, but it's significant. And it means a lot of things. But roughly, well, I should go into more detail with that, but that's okay. It simply means where it came from, what it ate, what it drank, what the stewardship, management, relationship was. You want to know when it was born? We can tell you. You want to know when it was weaned? We can tell you. You want to know what it ate? We can tell you. What it drank? We can tell you. Okay, so you create a relationship, opportunity for your patronage, for your customer. And it is intimate, and that's the right word to use. Isn't putting something in your body an intimate experience? That's what we've been talking about here all day today, right? Just how intimate is that? I mean, you're eating it. So that's the right word. So this relationship, okay, opportunity at that point is so very, very important for that consumer because it addresses a very deep yearning need. That person is saying, hey, I like this. And in a lot of ways, and I don't want to go too far, down this road, but it also kind of redefines local to some extent. Now, I understand the geographical definition of local, and I think that has tremendous value. Believe me, I understand that, and I subscribe to that. But I have also been challenged in many ways to think a little differently, which is, again, how I'm challenging you today on a few platforms, and this being one. You could go to a farmer's market, and you're in the West Coast, and you could go to this individual and say, hey, what breed of lamb is that? I don't know. When was it slaughtered? I don't know. What did it eat? I don't know. What did it drink? I don't know. Which one's more local? The one that you could have a relationship with, that's provided for you, that comes with that purchase decision, that comes with that discretionary purchase decision, or the one you don't know anything about. But it happens to be 50 miles up the road, so, okay. Believe me, I'm not stripping away, the ultimate definition of local, but I'm simply giving you something to think about. Okay, something a little more detailed, perhaps, something more relationship-based, as it would relate to your consumptions. So I think it's very important, again, that we present this opportunity as professionals, okay, for individuals who want to know and need to have that connection, the opportunity to do it. So products that really represent that type, they're necessary too. Flies. Products that represent that opportunity are coming. And we hope to think, and would like to think that Elysian Fields, in one definition anyway, of red meat protein is providing that commutation of data and that opportunity for that type of intimate relationship. So as a producer, fellow producers, and I share a lot with that man right over there. He says, I just want to do it the way my grandfather did it. That's exactly right. This is nothing new. And my grandfather knew if you want to get through the winter, you better take care of Bessie the cow. You have a newborn, and a grocery store is not, it's not like it used to be, or not like it is now. So you better take care of Bessie the cow, and Bessie take care of you. And there was a relationship that was built in, and we're trying to just create that same thing, that same understanding, okay, that my grandfather understood and had, that principle that they lived by. And we're just trying to make that opportunity in today's day and age available to a customer that we know wants to have that sense of satisfaction, wants to know certain things about the products that they consume. As we go through into really the next group, so from the producer's perspective, it really was all about tradition from that perspective, doing it kind of the way our grandfathers did it. And there are certain values there, I think, that transcend even into today's time. The next group and the next challenge really in this lineage, in this time frame, under this umbrella of holism, we're all under this philosophy, is you. It's you. It's the professionals and the industry professionals. You have to reshape your thinking to this type of philosophy and understand that it's incumbent upon you to do demonstratively. Remember, like my grandma used to say, okay, the road to hell is paved with good intent. We can have the greatest intentions in the world, but they're meaningless. What can you do? There's a couple things, things I did, ideas, and then from there, obviously, you can infuse your own personal judgments. Centerpieces. You guys all have centerpieces on your tables, some of the most beautiful flowers. I've seen some of the most beautiful centerpieces. I said, it's absolutely art. It's art. Well, in one case, we got rid of that. And I sent everything that this animal eats to this particular restaurant. We created centerpieces out of hay and, alfalfa. Everything that this animal would consume, all vegetarian. And they made the most beautiful centerpieces you ever saw in your life. Now, what did that mean? What did that mean? Well, to someone who sat down there and they said, well, why do I have grass growing out of my table? Okay? It evoked immediate response, really, from the patrons. But the wait staff being engaged the way they were and being the front lines of, all the restaurants and knowing how important they are, they were absolutely in on this. And they said, well, you're eating the lamb, and it ate that. So that's what the lamb ate that you're about to eat. So it was just a mechanism to be able to make the connection, and then some dialogue beyond that. Not a lot, because you basically get 30 seconds, and that's about to make your point. There's another one we did. These are very tangible, very real. These have been done. I had a chef ask me to send him every component of the feed that this animal ate in fit for human consumption form, which was easy to do. So he made a dish out of it. And anyone who had the lamb, he served this little cube. That was awful, believe me. Like chlorophyll, like you were eating grass, okay? But it was not awful. It really made the point, and the point being, again, you can eat what it ate. You can eat what it ate. That's what it ate. You can eat it if you want to. So these are things that you can do, I think, that can reshape your thinking a little bit towards a philosophy, towards a holistic philosophy, one that is meaningful, is soulful. It connects on a very deep level, whether you want to talk about authenticity or tradition, or you want to talk about harvest and the responsibility of harvest. Let's talk about that in a minute. Very simplistic terms, so I almost apologize for this, but as a matter of physics, energy never dissipates. I think that's physics 101, right? Energy never dissipates. What do you live off of? We harvest this animal. What do you live off? What do you live off of when we clip the microgreens, right? Okay, they've been harvested. Do you live, in my particular case with the lamb, you live off the muscle, the fat, the bone? I would challenge you to think differently. You live off of the energy that's captured at that moment. And that energy is captured in it. Again, just because it's dead doesn't make it different. As you consume that, you're consuming the energy and you're absorbing the energy from that food stuff. You excrete everything else. It never dissipates, changes form, and can change form rapidly, as we all know. And like an example would be an explosion. Energy can change form rapidly, but it never dissipates. Well, it goes somewhere. So again, not to by any means to build on what has been stated previously, it is so important to understand how poignant that few minutes is, because we are transitioning this animal from live to dead. But it's not dead food. There's a lot of dead food out there. I don't need to talk about that. But this certainly is not. And it is energy packed. We've all heard this, okay? So not to kind of get out of order here and kind of going back onto the producer side a little bit, but it's all important that we understand uniformly, collectively, how each of us relate in that continuum of time under the umbrella of holism. This is where I fit. All right, a little more of a challenge. Some of you are out there probably saying, oh, I'm a lawyer, or I'm an accountant or something. I have a tremendous food interest, and I'm absolutely fascinated with, with what we're talking about here today, and that's probably why you're here. Well, I would challenge you to think that there's something you can do too. What would that be? Well, and again, I don't want to get too far off here, but I think it's important because it shows that you do not have to be connected directly to production or to some type of presentation or process or preparation of food to be able to take action. Insurance. You guys all run businesses. You all understand product liability insurance is crazy. Why is there not a liability insurance product that reflects the beta associated with source verified foods? Doesn't exist. Instead, we're all forced into business, me included, from a business perspective. And again, I only mention this because I'm going to tie you guys in, because you guys can take action. Why do we pay premium levels that are associated with red meat proteins that are high risk because they're from sources unknown? We have no relationship with this animal that provided these products for our use. Why does that product not exist? Well, whoever wants to pick that up, you come see me, because I got about 1,000 customers. That would be your customer base immediately. There is no reason why you should be saddled when you know and you have an intimate relationship with the animal that's providing this protein for you and then for your patronage, and it is that integrated. Is it a safer food? Again, something to think about, but also something that a professional outside of direct involvement with food preparation or production, such as myself, can be involved and can take action. The last integer to this, this is, again, it's a little bit too basic, I guess, but would be the consumer, and they're probably the most important. So we have the animal, we have stewards, we have professionals, industry professionals, and then the consumer. The consumer, again, touching back on which I alluded to before, is so in want. Today, it's not who you are, it's who you say you are. it's virtual. It's Facebook. You know what I want? I want to be able to shake this man's hand. No. And I want to be able to look him in the eye. And I want to be able to say, this is a good man. We need to get back to that. Because the consumer is lost in their phones. They're lost in this technology. We need to get back to relationship building that is not virtual. That is not, I'm going to create this imagery on social media. For me, I am the luckiest man in the world. I really am. But I guess I stole that from Lou Gehrig. Huh? So I really am. I get to walk through this wonder, this natural order, this natural process. I get to call that my office, I guess. So many things become apparent to me just from having an open mind and being humble and letting go of any kind of preconceptions relative to I have controls. Believe me, you don't. We're insignificant. We are insignificant. The natural order really does, in the long term, have the controls. So I think it's really important that that consumer kind of gets back to that type of understanding and gets back to some type of basic understanding of their role relative to the culture. And that worries me. Worries me with my son and my daughter. It worries me that they can't communicate. So I think there's a significant issue and a challenge, again, to you to think differently. To get back to relationships as we knew it, as I just demonstrated. You'll know who you're dealing with then. And it's incumbent for us to do that so that we can properly respect and revere this animal in my relationships relative to my customers and then your customers, so that we can properly respect and do everything that we can do, okay, to bring forth the voice of the Lamb through its consumption. So I guess really a basis for this whole philosophy is just that. It's humility. It's understanding really how insignificant, we really are. I get this a lot. Oh, Keith, you're so passionate. You're so passionate about what you do. I'm going to challenge you to think differently here too. It's not the height of your passion, but the depth of your commitment that will ensure your success. It is not the height of your passion, but the depth of your commitment. Passion ebbs and flows, okay? We've all been in relationships, and whether they're personal relationships, relationships with animals, relationships. How far are you willing to go? And how deep is your commitment? Around the farm, you find that out pretty quick. You have to be committed, commit your soul to it. I was challenged once to get some product to the West Coast. Again, understanding that these folks had a relationship with this animal, and understanding that from their perspective, this was more local than 50 miles away. And I told them, I said, you know what, I'll strap that lamb on my back and carry it across those Rocky Mountains if I have to. And I meant it. I was going to get it there effectively with the least imprint and the least footprint that I could. And there are things that we did and things that we can do to achieve that. So I think really it's truly all about humility. From that perspective, I think we're open to where we can truly learn. we can revisit principles that are enduring and lasting, and we can more properly and effectively respect and revere, in my case, this animal that we take all that it has to give. Thank you.
As we're kind of closing up here today, the thought that I think that we'd like to leave you with is, we're here on the Jones family farm, and vegetable growing and being a vegetable farmer is a pretty old trade. And growing lamb at Alasian Fields is a pretty old trade. But what we have with us today are two people that took trades that are thousands of years old and found a way to innovate and bring something new to us and to our industry. And I hope it gives everybody a great deal of inspiration in whatever you're doing in our industry, that there is that opportunity. And these two guys, real inspirations to the industry. Lee, thank you so much for hosting everyone. Keith, unbelievable. Thank you.
Any questions? We have time for a couple. Oh, here we go. That's it.
It's actually just a comment. Keith.
Okay.
Lee introduced us. He said, hey, this is Keith. He's a lamb farmer. When I was at Heartbeat back in the 90s, I bought lamb from you, and it's the best lamb that I've ever eaten, that I bought from anybody.
Thank the lamb.
And it's remarkable, and it's definitely a product with integrity. And I know a lot of other chefs who have long-standing relationships with you. And just want to give a shout-out to how you talked about the different, the importance of local. I like to look at it like local or locale. Where does the animal come from? Where was it raised? What integrity was it raised
on board with that.
I'd rather ship high-quality protein in one direction than water in a bottle or iceberg lettuce or something like that, because there aren't many people that raise lamb with the integrity like you guys do. You all do. You have a great team. They're amazing animals. The protocols are incredible, and I just wanted to thank you for the years that I was able to get your fabulous product. I'm out of the business now, but remarkable stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind comments. And again, we'll thank the lamb.
Anyone else? If not, then I'll ask everybody to congregate over here for the photograph, and that will be followed by some wonderful cocktails and a